Don't forget to record this. I need that.
That's
Oh my
my
gosh.
first slide on.
Oh my gosh.
I just that's like a first like, oh, forget to record.
Skip needs to see. Yeah, when he sees this, he's gonna be like, oh my gosh, we need that button because I am constantly forgetting to record. That's one of the other things about so back in the layout buttons. If I maximize it, Jessica. Yeah, so Skip is constantly reminded, but if we were doing StreamYard, then all of a sudden it records automatically.
It records automatically, yeah.
and posts to Facebook for you.
Yeah. I have this one to start automatically recording, but I join earlier, and then there's just me moving around getting stuff ready, so I stop recording, and then I start it again. All right, so let's go ahead and get started.
Yeah, let me go ahead and
take advantage of the.
I'm going to try to start this stream and see what happens.
There we go. See you disappear. We know what happened.
I'm crushing my internet connection right now, which is a crappy one, anyways. All right, go ahead.
Everybody, turn on your video. Let's just. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining for Central Mafia partner-led session. I'm Juan Mac. I'm the one who sends you all those emails all the time. Sean is usually my co-host. He'll probably show up.
He knew I was here and he's like, yes. I don't need to bother showing up.
Yeah, we've been texting. I don't know. He probably forgot. But we're very excited for today's session. Before we move forward, I want to highlight all of our members of the Partner Advisory Council. This is a partner-led session. So the intent is to grow the community, create some interactions, teach about things that are happening, best practices, and you create that collaboration and all those ideas. All that comes from this council. So thank you guys. They're on the call. If you see them, and what I'm going to do is we will love to connect with all of you. So on the chat, I'm gonna drop. There you go. All of our LinkedIn profile links. So please go in there, connect. That's another way of knowing what's happening. And then also when we get to all the future events, we can see each other and tag each other and create that community. This session will be recorded. It is recorded, and when we're done, it's going to be posted on our YouTube. So we have our YouTube channel. So if you can review any of the previous sessions, and also if you want to stay up to date with everything that is happening, we do have the Slack channel. So join the Slack channel, and then again you'll find all the updates from this group, all the upcoming events, webinars, and if you have any questions for the group, just feel free to go in there and just post it, and anybody can just go ahead and answer your questions, because we all have questions. And by the way, I posted one in today, so go back and review that, because I'm scratching my head over here on something regarding agreements and configuration. So that's a shameless plug there for me. Upcoming events. Today we're having our webinar, but next week it's open mic, and we have the user group coming up. So if you have any questions and never been to the user group, and you want to know what's happening, what we're planning with the ConnectWise team, or if you have any questions, anything that you want to talk about, just join the open mic. It's open conversations. We're just gonna basically hang out for a whole hour in there, and we just have fun. Next month is the user group. It will be over in Chicago. And if you have not registered, I'm just going to bombard you with links today. I got them all queued up in here. Boom. There it is. If you have not registered, there is the link to register for the user group. So right before this meeting, we met with the ConnectWise team, and we have a great agenda plan, a lot of activities, and I have more details for that. So then after that, we're going to have an open mic. And just what we do is just a recap of the user group. Last time when we had the user group, we had that open mic, and it was basically to get feedback from everybody. And those are the things that we use to enhance then the following user group, and just try to make it better and create more engagement again from everybody. And then in October, just mark your calendars. October 12th and October 19th, those will be our 2 upcoming sessions, and then there is Connect then over in November. So there will be no webinar in November because there's the Connect event. Speaking of the user group, September 14th. So again, mark your calendar. We have all the sessions already planned. We're planning again the panel to have conversations with the ConnectWise team and other partners. And also we have specific breakouts or interactions with the vendors, because I know we have a lot of our vendors and sponsors that come in, and there's very little time to engage with them. So we create a little time slot there for to engage with them. And there's also not only the pre-day, but there's now a closing networking event. So a couple of changes in there. So it's a lot of fun that we have. Last time we went axe throwing to just break the ice and get to talk to each other, and it was a fun time. Here's the agenda for the user group. Like I said, we're going to have that panel. It's oriented to the day in the life of the service manager. So we invited several. We have some partners that are going to participate along with the ConnectWise team, and I'm not going to go through all this, but this is the agenda that we have scheduled for you. Great news! If you attend, there is a chance to win a pass to Connect. So just like we gave away a pass for Secure, for those that attend, they'll have the opportunity to win a pass to Connect this year. And speaking of partners, we still have the call for speaker, and this is the last call for speakers for the user group. So if you like to participate on any of those sessions, you'll participate along with the ConnectWise team. So it's not like we're going to ask you to go in and talk over a specific topic. You'll coordinate with the team, and what we want is just your experience, your feedback on those items. So if you can see, these are our 3 partners who are going to participate. See those 3 cool dudes there? You want to be cool, all right? So if you want to have that opportunity to present, just let me know. Just reach out to me directly, and I will connect you with ConnectWise team and their the education team. So you will not be there, like I said. We will not be asking you just to present. There's the content, and we want to hear your experience. All right. Before we get started, if you have any questions, you can use the chat to participate or ask any questions. The advisory council is here. Trevor, Larry's here. I'm here. So if you guys can just monitor that, I'll also keep an eye on it. If there's any questions in there, you can post them in there, and we'll interrupt. Or hey, open mic. Okay, so just open your mic and then just ask any questions to Adam. So today we're going to be talking about streamlining your QBRs. So we have Adam Walter here from Humanize IT. There he is. He's the founder and president of Humanize IT. We met Adam last year. We crossed paths several times, but specifically when you were the one with finance at the Pitch It event with the product on how to Streamline your QBRs, so how you can help your team build QBRs and actually turn it into a business conversation. So Adam will share with us today all those different topics, how you can actually have those valuable conversations with your organization, with your clients, and turn that into revenue.
Yeah.
Right. So with that, Adam, go for it, my friend.
Yeah. So, first things first, understand that, I'm going to try my best not to make this a boring topic. I love speaking. I've got the ego for it. Trained by the best, Sean Lardo, telling me like, stop talking about yourself. No, I think it's because Sean just wants me to talk more about him. Anyways, the idea of a QBR though is we always talk about ourselves. And I came from the outside of the industry. I came from the corporate world where the idea of a QBR really didn't it wasn't a big idea. It was just something you did. Every quarter I as a security director would have to give the security update to the entire company. And it was expected of me to do this thing. And over time, I've found little tricks to talk to these large groups of people and gather information, as well as disseminate information that they wanted to hear about. And so I got really good at this. And eventually I did my own VCIO practice. I started building out how to talk to companies about things that matter. So if you were on our webinar just 10 minutes ago, I was on another webinar where we were talking about how you actually relate to customers through pre-sales. How do you pre-qualify clients? And it's very similar to how you do your QBRs. And so the first question you got to ask yourself is, if you were to go on a date with somebody and they just talked about themselves the whole time, would there be a second date? And so that is the question that you need to ask yourself. If you walk into a QBR and you just talk about things that you're doing, is there going to be a second conversation with that client? No, what's this? I think I'm getting yep. That's your quiz.
Yeah.
It just it says I have not logged into Prolly. All right, so anyways, that's the point I try to make to people. Everything you do with our platform. So any of you guys are Humanize customers out there, you see that you can do all this with a number 2 pencil and a chief notebook, a big chief notebook, because the whole idea is you're learning about the client. A QBR isn't there for you to talk about your tickets and what you've accomplished so much as it's there to talk about what does your client need. And there is a little bit of toxicity in the MSP world that I discovered, because I was coming in as a VCIO and I would sit down at these QBRs with these people, with these MSPs, and they would just talk about Azure. They would talk about all the things that they did, how many tickets they closed, and trying desperately to show value. And it's like that significant other on the date who's trying to show that they're this awesome person. Look at all the things I've done for you. I did the trash. I took you to the movies. I did. And you talk about things like, why is that relationship going south? Now, when we think about it that way, it's obvious. You don't care about the other person. You're just talking about yourself and all the things you're doing. And it's because you're so desperate to get their attention. What if there was a better way? What if you didn't really have to do anything to make a good QBR? What if the good QBR was just all about walking in the room and sitting there and asking the right question and then listening? And that's how streamlining a QBR works. So let's see if I can share my screen here. Problem with different streaming platforms is that everybody's got a different spot. So last week on a whim, I decided I was going to build a QBR handout. Anybody wants a copy of this, just email me. I'll send it to you. It's just, I built it in Canva. And I wanted to show that this is really all you need. Can everybody see this, or am I not sharing my screen?
Yep, we can see it.
All right. So what you're seeing here is just a simple QBR. This is a 1-hour QBR that will do everything you want it to. If you walk in with this piece of paper and ran through this, you'd be done. So starting off with, hey, talk about a great segue. What happened at your company? Tell me about your company. Tell me a highlight from this last quarter. Hey, let's talk about things we did just really quick. Notice I'm only giving you about 5 minutes there to talk about what you did. And I want to show you where you're going wrong or what you're doing right. And then come to like, hey, can I make some recommendations based on what we found last quarter? And then let's talk about how much these are going to cost and put them on a roadmap so I can get them done this next quarter. And then finally discuss business objectives. So notice like this first half, all that stuff I just talked about, there's only 20 minutes of the conversation. The rest of it is, let's talk about the problems you're having. Tell me about what's going on in your company right now, and let's spend time discussing this. So those of you who are Traction fans, this should look extremely familiar. This should look super familiar, people. And it's because it's done right. And if you spend the bulk of the conversation talking about what the client is doing, and you time box all that stuff that you feel like is really important, you're going to win. You are going to discover projects you did not know existed. And that's important because now that you have, let me switch this over here. Now that you have talked about what the client cares about, you can now use that engineer brain you have to solve the problems that they have. I think it was at IT Nation last year, they challenged me with, you have 10,000 solutions as an MSP. How are you getting those in front of the client? It was a clever question, but it was the wrong question. The right question is of the 10,000 solutions in your head, which ones are you going to put in front of your client? Not everybody needs a SAN. Not everybody needs a wireless heat map. Not everybody needs to be migrated out to the cloud. So how do you discover what they need? And that is the question that you got to figure out. And you cannot figure that out without asking the right questions. So when you want to streamline a QBR, the whole thing is, how are you going to create a situation where you can listen more? And if you do that, you're going to end up with a really great product at the end of the day. And that's without, I don't know why this is taking forever to, there we go. And then that is without you going in and spending 30 hours building a PowerPoint presentation, then tweaking it and having this slide deck that you're going to run through with them. Stop using PowerPoint is my first tip of the day. Stop it. PowerPoint is a one-way conversation meant for broad audiences. You're meant to walk in with a PowerPoint, show slides. Those slides are not dynamic for a reason. You can't take notes there. Well, you can in that little notes field at the bottom, but your clients can't see that. Walk in with the assumption that you're going to write down and take notes in this conversation. That is your first thing. Stop wasting time on slide decks. I've watched so many engineers with great intentions walk in with a PowerPoint they spent 8 hours on, trying to sell this list of projects using every sales technique they can from every video they have watched, when all they need to do is walk in with a blank piece of paper and a pencil. And I've done this technique with when I got assigned voluntold to be a part of a nonprofit board. I became the president by default. I'm like, crap. And so I started using these basic techniques I took from running QBRs in there. And I took their 4-hour board meetings and I turned them into 90 minutes. And I took 90 minutes and I turned it into 120 because we needed a little extra time. But people are like, holy crap, this is awesome. We got so much done. Why did we get so much done? Because I spent time listening. So I see, did you start that first poll there, Juan?
Yes. Yeah, I did.
Can I see the results?
So I put in the view results, but 87% they are doing QBRs.
Okay. So I was going to have another one. Can, your QBR prep time, does it take like 6 hours? Does it take 2 hours? You just walk in the door. I should have created a poll for that one, but I didn't. I'm sorry.
I can do one on
do one on the fly. Like,
yeah.
I want to know, how much time does it take people to go on a QBR? because usually it's around 6 hours. I've heard people be able to prep for a QBR in as little as an hour. And what if your QBR prep time can be cut down to 10 minutes? Like, what would that be? What is that worth to your company? And that's the question I started asking myself, is that when I was doing slideshows at the corporate level, I mean, seriously, 2 days of time on those slides, man. it was not even a question, because I had to go into the ERP solution and they wanted these specific tables and they wanted to do these specific things, and then they wanted us to fill out. We had to have at least 15 slides, and like it was just annoying. So yeah, 1, 2, 4, 6, like, yeah. Maybe I seeded the audience with the answer there, but yeah, 6 hours is about the time that it takes. 4 to 6 hours. On average, I've been doing QBRs for the last 10 years. I was an engineer. I grew up Bachelor of Science, Computer Science, came in, I was a Nexus core admin. I worked for very large corporations doing their data center design and support. So about as nerdy as you get from an engineering standpoint. I was a CISSP, I was a director of security for critical infrastructure. So I rose through the ranks slowly in the corporate world. And QBRs are a pain. However, what I discovered was my best QBRs took me no time. So this agenda that I'm showing you here, if you gave me one of your clients and I walked in today, the only thing I couldn't do with them, point blank, would be talking about your previous quarter's stuff, but I could wing it. I only need 5 minutes. Hey, what did you guys get done last quarter? And out you go. If I put on my engineering hat, I'm going to talk about a lot of really nerdy things my client doesn't care about for about a half an hour. And then I'm going to spend 20 minutes talking about the nerdy things I'm going to do for them. And I'm going to spend 10 minutes wrapping it up with a Q&A, because that's just good showmanship. And so I can do this. This is the only part that I really care about. This 30 to 50 minutes right here. There's where I'm going to make you $10,000 to $20,000. And I say that because of the hundreds of MSPs who use our product, when they come back to me, they say your product is cool, but what changed was the fact that I'm asking questions in meetings now, and I immediately make additional revenue because I have projects on the table my client didn't understand. They weren't in context. The client doesn't want a new firewall. They want a faster way to stream sales meetings. They don't want their Office 365. They want a way to work from home. I'm selling the same thing in both situations, but with a different context. So when I come into a QBR, point blank, not knowing your MSP at all, I'm going to spend all my time. If I could spend 40 minutes in this, I will. If I can squeeze down this first part. But the problem is you guys spend your 2 to 3 hours going through ConnectWise, tracking your projects, figuring out what happened, creating great KPIs based upon tickets and warranties and talking about that stuff, when you could just immediately just pull that out and say, look, this is my general last 5 minutes. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what matters to the customer, because now your customer feels heard. You're talking to them about who they are. And then your engineering brain cannot help it. And if you're married, your wife has yelled at you or your husband has yelled at you for this, stop solving the problem and just listen to me. You will immediately try to solve these problems. No one gets, if you're in a room with an engineer, our brain does not turn off on how to solve the problem. But we need to know about it first. We need to know about it in context first. And so that is where we come down to like what the heart of what we've been trying to do. So when I do a QBR, I'm going to use my software here just for a second. Sorry about the dog and pony show. But like I go into my client. Man, my computer's just chugging here. This is my QBR, guys. This is it. I think Skip designed this, I don't know, a year ago. I'm going to walk in and I'm immediately going to scroll down this. I'm going to say, what do we need to talk about? Okay, here are the projects we've got. I can say, do you want to see what projects were done? Okay, I can put that in there and I can just say, show me all completed projects. Oh, look, what's the budget going to be for this client? I have simple things here. and if I have Power BI, I can talk Power BI if I want. But I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of what's going on in a QBR. I want to know what's going on in the business. So if you take this idea that we've done in our software, where it's just pulling your ConnectWise data in, or your Autotask or Halo or whatever you're using, ConnectWise here, they pull it in and say, what are you planning on doing? What's potentially capable of being done? And so now I have 1,000 solutions in front of them, but we're not talking about those right now. What I want to talk about is, how is your business running? And instead of spending the 6 hours trying to gather all this data, it's just there. And if you use a Big Chief notebook instead, write down the top 3 projects from the last quarter. Very rarely do our customers care about how many tickets were closed. They have no context for that. It's not like they're comparing their ticket close rate versus another MSP. It's a great number to talk about, and we've trained them to care about it. But in my history, my 20-year history of talking to large and small companies, never have I had somebody say, I need to look at our ticket close rates. I've had my CIO ask me that because he felt like we were underperforming. And that's a big red flag. I need to talk about something else. I need to say, okay, why do you feel like that? And then they say, well, Susan requested a PC and it didn't come in for 6 months. Oh, okay, so let's talk about that. Why did that take so long? Well, it was a pandemic and things happened. I like how you spelled how there, Juan.
Yeah. It's just it's my fast typing. Yeah.
I'm looking at here like not a single person has made a comment about Juan's hoe.
Oh. Almost
Trying to behave, Juan.
So what I'm pointing out here is that yes, we have a good product. Yes, our product will streamline this for you. These are just it's kind of like Bright Gauge. It's just templates. You're going to build out what you need and then say what kind of conversations you want to have. That's the goal of our product. But what I want to showcase here is that there's nothing complicated here. This is just like, hey, you want to talk about budgeting? Just have a few quick budgeting conversations. Man, must have been cached. Have a few quick budgeting conversations. Have these templates sitting out there ready to go so that you can say, okay, this is a larger client of mine. This is a Class A. I'm getting $30,000 to $50,000 a month from them. And I want to talk to them about what their budget looks like for the next year. That's a fairly hard thing to come up with. And that's a worthwhile thing to dive into. But guess what? You can't budget out for a client until after you talk to them. So when you do a contextual QBR focused on budget, you are now going to ask specific questions to your client. Hey, what's your biggest sources of revenue and what are your biggest risks? Those 2 questions will fuel an entire budgetary QBR. You don't need to prep anything else. You need to ask those 2 questions and sit back and listen. And then you're going to go back to your desk and talk and work through what does your budget look like. If you have a budgeting tool, like, I don't know, you got a cool spreadsheet built up, you've got some kind of ERP you're using with your clients, pull it up with them and talk to them about their budget. What does this look like? What does it look like over 3 years? How do you get this going with them? And so they can say, that is too much, or that's not enough. We've got more room in our budget. Let's try to squeeze in some more. That'd be a great thing to hear from a client. These are things that we want to do. And this is how the conversation should be focused. If you get out of a QBR without any action items, without any new projects, your QBR failed. Even if that project that you sold isn't going to happen until the end of 2024 because of budgetary concerns or because there's no change window available, that's okay. You should still walk out of a QBR with an action plan that relied upon input from the client. Otherwise, it wasn't a meeting. It wasn't a QBR. It was a presentation. You might as well just send a webinar, record it, and send it to them. You want this relation to happen, this conversation. And that's why streamlining your QBRs works. If you walk in there with 6 hours of prep work, how much room have you left for the client to have a conversation? How much room are you leaving for the client? And that's what you need to walk away. That's my tip number 2. If you are prepping for 6 hours and pulling all this data in, how are you leaving time for your customer? What are they supposed to talk about? Or are you trying your entire time in a QBR to convince them? The whole point of a QBR in the corporate world, this is where this comes from. The whole point of a QBR in a corporate world was that these large organizations, the CEO would make an edict. They'd say, okay, leadership board, we're going to grow our company by 20% this year through pushing this particular product. And then the edict would go out to the entire company. This is the vision setting. It's been done. This is the next 3-year plans or next year plan. The scope would be set. Then it would be up to the VPs and the directors to come back and report on how things were going. And so the VPs and the directors are going to meet like weekly and monthly. But what about the rest of the business? How do we talk to them? Like, well, the IT department has their goals. The accounting department has their goals. The sales department has their goals. When do they feed back up into the rest of the organization? And that happened on a quarterly basis. And so we fed back and showed the other departments how we were accomplishing this 20% growth goal that was set by the CEO once a quarter. And then the small business world heard about this. This is a great idea. And then vendors are like, hey, we should do a quarterly business review with our clients. And it turned from how are we helping the business grow to how do I prove my worth? That's what the shift happened. QBRs aren't proving your worth. QBRs are showing them how you're helping the business grow. So you got to have that context in there. So budgets are great. Metrics are great. KPIs are great, but you can overwhelm your clients with KPIs. You can work your butt off building great KPIs for your client that show that you are valuable, all the while burying your ability to move forward. So the one thing that a lot of people skip over when they look at my page here, and this is what you need to put at the top of your pencil on the notebook, is what is the business goal? You've got 10,000 solutions. Of this list of projects on my roadmap here, which one of these is going to help them increase sales by 20%? That's how my clients are making $10,000 in a QBR. So instead of going with the high priority, I need to swap out this PC because it's out of warranty, they're skipping down and saying, oh, instead of swapping out that PC, what if I upgraded their VPN? Much easier sell because now I'm helping them with their goal. What if that PC or that laptop happened to be their chief sales guy's laptop? Okay, now you can push the laptop. Now you can push, hey, we need to order like 30 more tough books so we can be on the construction sites that are going to survive that environment, and you can be selling on site. That's how you streamline a QBR.
Adam, do you find, like, when we're looking at this poll here on how much time, like 6 hours, is that 6 hours, or do we spend a lot of time just pulling all that information that you were saying, like how much we're worth, like ticket closure, successes of projects, all those KPIs? Is that's how you find seeing that most of people are spending their time?
Yeah, when I first start coaching somebody or I start doing one-on-ones with them, what I find is that I say, show me what your process is. And they pull up a PowerPoint slide deck, and then they know they've got to gather these things. How many tickets were closed? What projects were completed? What are all these things in ConnectWise that they can do? Which is great because you can pull it out of ConnectWise, but it just takes forever. And if you can make a pre-built report, you can, and hopefully some of that BrightGauge integration someday will help you make that faster. But you spending all the time gathering data on what you did, and then what should you do, and trying to figure out, okay, here's all of our projects, which one should I recommend? But you're doing it in a vacuum, which makes it so much harder.
Yep.
When I do a budget, when you're designing a budget for a client, they need to be in the room with you. Otherwise, you're wasting your time, unless you know that client extremely well. And like where that they're going to grow their budget for 4% this year, and you know what they're going to care about, and you know what they're going to approve, then you're going to stay at the same budget. You'll have a hard time selling new projects. But yeah, I'd love to hear from the group what they spend time working on in the QBR. Prep time. This is per client, people. I think I lost everybody, Juan.
because I used to do QBRs back in, and I absolutely hated them. And that's exactly what I did. I show up with, instead of PowerPoints, it was just a stack of paper. It says like,
Yep.
here are all your tickets. And
The three-ring binder.
Well, and then
yeah,
here's
and
all these
it's,
reports that you don't know what they mean and you don't
yeah,
care about really.
these are
And
all the
then
things that
and you
we're
leave and
doing
you're
that
like,
you're paying us for.
yeah, you're like, I don't know what the hell happened in there. You just go back to your car and then drive to a bar. Maybe that's just me, but
I hate to say it, but I love QBRs. I love doing them with clients.
when they go well.
I built my entire business model back in 2017. I was tired in the corporate world. I got so burned out of doing corporate level QBRs and just dealing with all the red tape. A lot of you guys have been in the corporate environment. You know how it is. It's a pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I miss working with small businesses where like you can make a decision and help them come with a decision that matters. I was helping schools and daycares figure out better ways to do timekeeping for and tracking of students. And it was simplifying their lives. And that felt so good. My wife's like, why don't you just do that as a profession? So I was a kept man for a couple years, right? My wife's a pharmacist. She can afford to pay the bills. And so I started doing VCIO work and we suddenly went to 38,000 MRR a month just doing consulting practices because people are so thirsty for this. Independent advice on how to run schools, districts, and businesses. Where I was just giving these contracts $9,000 a month to MSPs, and the person that trained me to do the QBRs could even tell me the purpose of all the QBRs they were gathering in the first place. That's the thing, is like it's analysis paralysis. If you look out there and you look at go out there and just Google how to do a good QBR and look at all the videos that come up and just focus on MSP delivery, right? They're all focused on how do I get more reports in front of my client? How do I get more data in front of my client? And I like to think that's my claim to fame. I'm lazy. I do not want to read all this stuff. When I was in these meetings with the superintendents with these district offices and an MSP would come in and slap that 3-ring binder down, the binder stayed closed unless they were told to open it. And then as soon as that MSP left, it got pushed over to the left. And it got added to the stack of documentation that these people kept around. And if you walk in, ask it in next QBR with a client. Hey, by the way, somebody told me I should ask you, what's your biggest sources of revenue and what are your biggest risks in the company right now? Just so we can work within context. And just sit back and watch. And then you'll notice a miracle happens. Your clients actually look you in the eye. They look over and they sit up. And then all of a sudden, like, you know what? I actually don't know the answer to that. Let me bring Bob in. He'll know the answer. Who's Bob? The CFO. Let me bring in Alice. Alice, can you just tell us what are our biggest risks or what are our biggest sources of revenue? Alice stops by, pops her head and goes, who are you talking to? And all of a sudden you are engaged. You're talking about things that they care about. And all you have to do is listen because you've got solutions in your head. Like I talked to a school one day, I was just in passing. And it happened to be the principal. I said, what's going on with the school right now? He goes, oh my gosh, we're falling behind public schools because we can't do Chromebooks. So why aren't you doing Chromebooks? Well, we got this donation of iPads 2 years ago, and we spent all of our time updating them in this little lab. But it takes forever to update them. I'm like, why? He goes, I have no idea. Well, you want me to make some phone calls? So I made some phone calls for him. Turned out for this school of 160 students and another 60 teachers, they had 3 access points. And their internet connection they just doubled the internet to went from 10 megs to 20 megs. And they couldn't figure out why they were dropping during testing cycles all the time, their online tests. They could not fathom why it took forever to update Chromebooks. And so they wouldn't upgrade it from their iPads to the Chromebook plan because none of the teachers trusted the technology. I brought in one MSP just to figure it out. And they're like, why have they never done a site survey? And if you've ever been inside a church or a school, those things are like Frankensteins when it comes to like where wireless can get to. An MSP can solve that simply if they know that it's a problem. But they were on a break-fix contract, so the tech would come in, fix a PC, and leave. Once we figured out the wireless problem with them, once we figured out like the internet problem with them, because they could have fiber to the curb for cheaper than they were paying for 20 megs. Got that solved for them. Now they're one of the premier schools for technology. They're using VR headsets in their rooms. They're using multiple forms of smart boards and Chromebooks, and that MSP is making a mint, and everybody's happy about it for the cost of one FTE. They went from $1,500 to $9,000 a month because we asked the right questions. That's what a QBR is for. If you ask the right questions and solve the right problems, your client will find the money for the solution you have. Sorry, that was a meandering answer. I love this topic. This is one of my favorite topics. If I could change one thing in the MSP industry today, it would be how to have healthy QBRs. And the reason why I call it streamlining them is because they shouldn't take long to prep for. They should be simple.
I think one of the key things that you mentioned is the one that's just stop talking and stop listening. I know that I'm an engineer and I have that engineering background. That as soon as I start talking about a problem, I wanted to solve it right away and start to come up with ideas.
Yeah.
And it's just it's as simple as just shut up, take notes, and because I don't think the clients, they want that answer right away. Right? They know that you're probably going to work with them. You're going to work in the budget. You're going to work in a solution and plan it. Right?
Yeah.
Put it within their budget to have that business conversation with them.
You're wearing one of our unicorn shirts, and that's I love that. I think I'm wearing Arnold Schwarzenegger under here. It's like all my nerd shirts. But the point of the unicorn symbol is, and this is a hot contention in the industry right now. People yell at me all the time for it. Can't be done. We can take any account manager and we can turn them into a VCIO. Unicorn. Some of you can talk tech, sales, and business. Why? Not because I'm going to magically teach them how to be an engineer. I'm not magically teaching them how to be a salesperson. I'm saying ask better questions. And then wherever you have your gaps, so like if you're not an engineer, if you're a dental assistant who decided to become an account manager for an MSP, you know nothing about technology. You just got a nice smile. So you walk in there and you say, what are your biggest sources of revenue? What are your biggest risks? And let's talk it through and let them take notes. They come back and guess what you have in an MSP? You've got a team of engineers and you got a team of salespeople right there. And you just got all the business knowledge from your client. You just covered the trifecta for a VCIO. Sales, business, engineering. And you walk through and as a team, you discuss, oh my gosh, we're having these problems as a business. Engineer one, okay, here's 16 solutions I have right now. And the salesperson goes, yeah, but they can't afford that, but here's what we can do to sell it. You already, as an MSP, act like a unicorn. You act like a VCIO as a whole. You just need a smiling face to come in there and ask the questions. And if you put an engineer in there, they're going to try to solve the problem. They can't help it. They want to. I know. I'm one of them. I want to solve the problem right away. Instead, if you ask a question and you're quiet and you listen and you organize this, if you look, over on my side here, if you organize that in a way that makes sense and prioritize projects based upon what they're trying to accomplish as a company. Now, sometimes things need to jump up. Hey, if you don't replace this device, your entire internet's going to shut down in 3 months. If we don't migrate from Windows here, your PC will be out of compliance. You need to do that or you're going to lose your license. These are things that need to jump queue, but then you're talking about risk mitigation. If you want to talk about revenue generation, you need to know what they're doing to generate revenue. I think the last webinar we talked about a dog kennel. You walk in a dog kennel and be like, I see that you have a dog kennel and you have these individualized suites where a little floofy gets a little couch and they get these little places and they get boarded during the day. And I see you live stream. You're using cameras from 20 years ago. If you get a Logitech Brio in there or you get one of these other cameras, you could have two-way communication with your dog. You could charge a premium for that. Suddenly, you've provided something to them. They want your services now. That's a business review. What can technology do to help the business other than just keep the lights on? What can you solve for your clients that will generate revenue for them? Your product, if it can generate revenue for your client, will sell every single time. I promise you. You've just got to identify which technologies are going to generate revenue. Which technologies are going to mitigate risks to their revenue? Because at the end of the day, your client cares about profits, just like you do. Which is why we say on our solution, like on average, people are average increase of project revenue using Humanize IT of $10,000. Not because we got any magic bullet, but just because we're simplifying the conversation so they can see which projects you have that will help them. Final thoughts, everyone. I know we're coming up on time here. Questions? Do the opposite of what I'm doing in this webinar. Don't spend all the time talking, you know. Tell me about yourself, Juan.
How about this? How do you decide what not to present?
How do I decide what not to present? Anything anything operational.
Okay. Just leave it at that.
That's my generalized answer to that question.
Sure.
So
makes sense.
Everybody wants to say they do QBRs. Like if you look out and the channel say, oh, we do QBRs. Why? The SEO, if you look at SEMrush, the SEO on QBRs is fantastic. So having as a keyword attached to your product means that you're going to sell more. So everyone wants to say use our data in QBRs, but you should not talk about operational data in QBRs. That's a technical review. That's an important thing to do. You should do a technical account review. That's important. You need to show like this is how we're solving problems, and that is okay. It's just a rare thing. It's meant for more of a key stakeholder view. But when it talks to QBRs, you should be talking about strategic items. Which direction is the ship going? Not tickets. So I think Skip Ziglar says, don't talk speeds and feeds. Talk about strategy and direction. Opportunities in ConnectWise, good to talk about. Tickets, bad. Throughput and bandwidth, bad. How many sticks of RAM in the server today? Bad. Upgrading the server so they can handle more clients? Good. I had a client one time, I wasn't a client, that was where I was employed. They had a SQL server, and it would take about 12 to 18 hours to run a query. It was this massive data sets for banks. And I figured out in that day, it was back when VMware 4 just came out. I built it as a VM cluster and put SQL on it. All of a sudden, they could log in and they could start their query on the server running on the Xeon processors, and it would take about 2 hours. Now, the beauty of running it on the VMware cluster via a VM was I had the Windows was it XP? No, Windows 7 VM set up there. Shh, don't tell Microsoft. Up there, and they could log in. They could start their query. They could run it on the SQL cluster. They could go home and have dinner with their families. That was the biggest thing. And they were able to process clients in 2 hours rather than 12 to 18. So they got 2 major benefits from that. I improved the business and made them more money by making a simple change that none of them could ever have guessed would have worked. It was just me and a buddy of mine sitting over a beer going, why aren't you doing things on a VM? He's like, what's a VM? A long time ago. So these are things that you can do. You can be creative. I helped Photo Studio figure out how to sell photos on site. So they could sell right there. As soon as your kid took a picture of themselves in the little pink tutu at Dance Studio, you could buy on site. We were the first photo studio to do that in North America, as far as I'm aware. This was a very long time ago. And just because we figured out how to buy cheap Optiplex PCs, bring them on site, hook them up to an ad hoc server that was then hooked up to the camera. That's something a technology person can do. And there are a million things like this we can do if we listen to business problems. Streamlining your QBRs isn't about data. It's about using less data and putting and asking the right questions to your clients. If you're spending 6 hours on your QBR, you're probably wasting your time and your clients. Try to build a QBR in 5 minutes. see what you come up with. Or just buy our software.
There you go.
Shameless plug.
You have to. Hey, I got your logo, buddy. We're good.
The new unicorn comes out at ConnectWise this fall. So look for our new T-shirts. You'll see a brand new unicorn at our booth.
Great. All right, thanks, Adam. So a couple of things I took notes here. A couple of things that I'm going to share with my team. Stop talking. I got that. I wrote that down and I actually like underline it too.
Nice. Is it because you were wishing I would stop talking, or?
yeah. I'll take a picture and send it to Sean.
Okay.
Stop talking. Talk about business goals. Link those goals to projects.
Yep.
Talk about not talk about. Have conversations, right?
Have conversations.
Yes, biggest sources of revenue, biggest risks, and their pains.
Yes. You might have to retrain your clients to talk about this stuff. They are so used to coming in and talking about speeds, feeds, and nerdy stuff that when you switch this conversation, and if you do it in a pre-sales engagement, you immediately stand out. If you do it with your existing clients, it'll take them a little while to get used to the new style of conversation. Wait, we're not going to talk about, we're going to sit here and cry and gripe about tickets for a while. We're not going to gripe about technology. No, I want to know about your business so I can find projects that are going to make you money.
Yeah, we actually did strip all that and provided those reports automatically to the clients. If you want to see tickets and talk about a ticket, here's the report ahead of time. So we will.
Yeah, that's our client dashboard.
Those.
If you want to check in, see how a ticket's doing or how a project's opportunity's doing, go and check our client dashboard. That's it. We're not going to overload you with reports.
Yeah, we did do that.
Well, I appreciate the time today, Juan.
I'm
always up for talking to the group.
Well, all right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks, Adam. Now you are officially part of the Central Mafia. So welcome to the circle of trust.
Oh, thank you. I'm always glad to be around. Invite me back anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll get all my spam from now on.
That's okay. I accidentally sent out my webinar request twice today, and I'm like, oh no.
So, all right. So I appreciate everybody showing up. Again, Adam, thank you so much for sharing all this information with the team. For the whole group, I will send out the follow-up email with information and the survey and links to for the user group, as I always do. And next Thursday, we'll see you on open mic, so we can again hang out and just talk about whatever.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon.